Achai v'rei, the heilige Yiddish folk, Mamlechas Kainim v'Gei Kadosh, the holiest of people, V'rememonim Mikoloshin, a nation that's exalted above every language. There is no language in the world that can define what a Yid is. Why are we feeling what we're feeling? Yerushalmi says the Jewish people are compared to an individual who's slicing a loaf of bread, and accidentally he's distracted and he punctures his left hand. Understandably, quid pro quo, the left hand takes the knife and plunges it into the right. Yashar leishpuz. He's insane. It's the same blood. It's the same pain. It's the same heart. The Mendel Bais at his trial, Lubliner Rav Rabbi Shapira Zatzal gave a defense. They were well versed with the Talmud, the prosecutors. And the Gemara says, Atem kriyim odom, ve'in akum kriyim odom. It seems to inflect that a non-Yehudi is not considered a human being. So Rabbi Shapiro, and they used it at his trial, when not just Mendel Bais was on trial, but all of Klal Yisrael. Hebrew is a mystical language. We talk about a man, we say ish, many people, anoshim, gever, gvorim. When it comes to the word adam, adam means a solitary man, and adam means mankind. So Rabbi Shapiro, when others have a problem, it's a personal problem. But to Klal Yisrael, if Mendel Bais is on trial, millions of Jews are davening, praying for him, and contributing to his defense. Atem kruyim odom, that's why we're feeling what we're feeling. Even if we don't live in Cleveland and know the horrific loss of a 20-year-old Choshev ben Torah, who already was a Yassim, learning in the Mir. Maybe your children don't go to Shalavim. They don't go to Brisk. They're not members of Toldos Aaron. Maybe they're not exactly your relatives, as many people have been calling me that their cousins were nifta, their young people were nifta, that grandfathers were nifta, that little children were nifta. One of the members of my kehillah was there at the time, and things started happening. And the fellow next to him fell to the ground. He's trampled. He's holding a child. He tells him, please make sure my son has a chalakah. And then he was nifta. And Shmuel called me Erev Shabbos still crying like a baby. My son-in-law, a guy in Rebbe Kiva, he had a strep throat. He said he'll be there the whole night. And he left at 11, an hour and 59 minutes before the tragedy. A member of Zaka, he saw the phone ring as he was tending to the nifter, a young man. And he saw that on the caller ID it said Abba, Abba. And then the phone stopped ringing. Ima, Abba, Ima. He couldn't answer the phone. How could you not cry? Distantly related, this is a klap to Klal Yisrael, and we cannot understand it. This was on the day of Rav Shimon Bar Yochai's Yom Hilula, when he said because he was a Muslim, he was going up to Shamayim. He gave over the words of the Zohar. The day was the longest day since creation because the sun didn't set until he finished transmitting the Holy Zohar. He didn't want crying and mourning on his yahrzeit. And how could it be that hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of individuals, thousands, their lives will be changed forever? And Lag B'Omer will be a day of a yahrzeit. How do we get our head wrapped around this? Reb Godel Eisen, the great mashpia of Ger, met one of his talmidim immediately after the war. And the person says, Rebbe, se geht nicht, se arbeit nicht, ich kann nicht davenen, I can't daven, tefillah doesn't work, I don't understand this Storim, Darkei Hashem, I can't go on. Said Reb Godel, do you have a radio? He says, yeah. And do you listen to it? Do you enjoy the music? Do you believe the news? How could you do that? You don't understand the workings of the radio. You don't understand the technology. You have no comprehension of radio waves. But you take it and you use it. That's life. We don't understand. We will move forward. We'll be like Rabbi Kiva, with the resiliency of Rabbi Kiva. He was a 64-year-old man, 1 year short of his pension, retiring at 65, mandated retirement. 24,000 levayas of young people, Talmidei Chachomim, Go'inei Yisrael, trampled to death by the Yetzer Hara in a terrible way. Shleinagu covered. What do you think the naysayers said? Oh, that's a religious Jew. He can't honor another. And the naysayers will claim the same here. But it's so not true. They were Kedoshim, and these 45 are Kedoshim. And those that are injured and wounded, we have to daven for the nechama, for the refuah. But Rabbi Kiva did not stop. He went to the south with 5 Talmidim. And all the Torah that we have today is from Rabbi Kiva v'Talmidav. And Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai was nifter on Lag B'Omer. Nistarim Darchei Hashem. But we have the resiliency to stand straight and to turn the bonfire of Lag B'Omer connected to the bonfire, the light of Shabbos Kodesh. We have it within ourselves to continue to be productive, to help those in need. A good friend of mine, a Gaon of Kana, his son Moshe, a younger man, was in Meron, and he also didn't feel well. And he walked down the mountain, and he fell. I didn't know if he broke his ankle or he sprained his ankle well before the tragedy occurred. And 100 people helped him. An old woman said, "Take my cane." Somebody gave him a ride to Yerushalayim. He wasn't crying in pain. He was crying at the Agudath of Klal Yisrael. Mi kamoicha goyechad ba'aretz. The Rebbeinu Shalom also has a pair of tefillin. And his tefillin says, Mi kamcha Yisrael goyechad ba'aretz. This tragedy will remind us there is no one like Klal Yisrael. Whether it's my beloved friend of Simcha Special, Lifeline, Misaskim, Zaka, all the chesed organizations, they spring into life. Let's look at the positive. It's a terrible tragedy. But Reb Shimon Bar Yochai would not want us to be upset. If you walk away from one thing, it's the Hilul of Reb Shimon Bar Yochai. Nistorim Darkei Hashem. Do we understand the Holocaust? Do we understand Chalmanitsky? Do we understand Beitar, Churban Bayis Rishon V'Sheni, the Spanish Inquisition? We're a nation that knows Tzoros. And to the Avelim we say, Hamokim Yenachem Eschem B'Sorch Sha'aveli Tziyim Rishalayim. We have no right to comfort you, but within the totality of Klal Yisrael we can. You will continue. You will succeed. Klal Yisrael will continue. We will steig and grow in chesed and being sensitive to others. It teaches us, as my daughter said from Kiryat Sefer, Abba, isn't this teaching us what Mashiach is all about? That tshuva has to be done today. Don't delay. You don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. That's the way it's with friendships, with our relatives. Let's treasure, embrace, kiss, hug everyone. And the schus of Klal Yisrael responding as only Klal Yisrael can respond. Mi kamcha Yisrael, declaring Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. The Rebbeinu Shalom will hasten the coming of Mashiach Tzidkenu, will be zeicher to the Gula Amitis, b'mheira v'yameinu. Amen.
I'm Rabbi Dr. Dovid Fox, the director of Project Chai, the Crisis Intervention, Trauma, and Bereavement Support Department of Chai Lifeline, addressing you now, all of our brothers and sisters across the globe in Klal Yisrael, following the shaking and heart-wrenching reports from Eretz Yisrael regarding the Meron catastrophe. The impact continues to circulate throughout our communities, throughout the world, and there are so many different reactions. For some, the fact that it's remote, and despite the fact that it's our people in our country, in Eretz Yisrael, the Holy Land, but despite the fact that they are us, the distance, the geographical distance for some has diluted some of the reactions. And of course, we feel something. And yet for some of us, it's hard to cry. It's difficult to plumb the deeper feelings and the thoughts that hit us when we hear about something going on for what is another part of the world in our minds. And yet there are those who are very focused and feel the connection and are literally reeling, davening in shul amidst tears and thoughts, anxieties, wondering if we knew someone among the casualties or among the injured, and trying to get phone connection. Now it's Erev Shabbos, and there is panic in some of us. And then beyond the sadness, and beyond the numbing, and beyond the stunned sensation that we have, in addition to the panic and the fear and the worry that's infiltrating the hearts and the minds and the souls of so many of us, we also wonder what to say to our children, some of whom are reacting as we are, some of whom are reacting at age-appropriate levels, and some of whom are stunned. And we need to be sensitive to that, because this is not only a matter of tragic loss and what looks like what we would call a freak accident in a world where the hashgacha pratis is so often clouded for us. But beyond the material and the gashmias components of this tragedy is the reality of when it took place, a day that in our hearts and souls and minds is meyuchad. It's dedicated to spirituality, to closeness, to joy, to singing, and to song, and so many of our other traditional practices. And this is what's hitting some of us, that not only what happened, and beyond or beneath the question of why it happens, but that it happened when it happened on Lag BaOmer. And as parents, as educators, as adults, let's remember that this is an opportunity which we have to model for our children, for our Talmidim, the ways in which an adult Yid with Yira Shamayim responds to the unthinkable. And the sensitivity that we show, the feelings that we display, these are all part of the chinuch that our children need. And knowing that when Yidden are in tsar, we all are affected by it. We all react to it. We look for ways to assist, whether in material and charitable ways, or certainly in ways that are ruchnius, through our tefillas, our tehillim, our bakashas, our kabbalas, to be better people and to reach out to one another. And let's also be mindful that there are some psychological inroads which we want to be taking with our children, beyond that of staying composed and sensitive to them and letting them see that it's okay to react and it's normal to react, and in fact that it's not normal not to have some reaction. But let's make our first goal that of listening to our children, listening perceptively, listening caringly, because they're going to have reactions, and depending on their age and their maturity and what they know and what they've heard, or how shocked and frightened they may have been through images that might have been maybe carelessly shown to them, some of them are sad, and some of them are scared, and some of them are stunned and in shock and numb, and some of them don't know how to react. And our task is to listen to them and to encourage them to put into words what this means to them, how it's hitting them, whether it's emotional, whether it's thought process, whether it's images, whether it's flashbacks, whether it's difficulty concentrating, whether it's apprehensive worry, whether it's obsessing about details. If it's hitting them emotionally, what is that feeling? What's going on with them? And if they cry, let them cry. Don't try to talk them out of their feelings or to undo their thinking for them. Their reaction is their reaction. It's real for them now. And our task as parents is really to help facilitate their identifying what they think, what they feel, what they're going through, and for us to validate and encourage that process of self-expression. Don't jump yet to reassure them. Don't try to make it into tidy packages as if it will go away. It will go away with time and with support and with each of your children and your students recognizing that it's important to talk, it's important to express, it's important to recognize and acknowledge and identify whatever it is that's going on inside of them. Give them reassurance. And older children, they can be given information. Younger children don't need to be given all of the details and the facts. Listen to the questions they ask and respond to them at the level in which they're being asked. With younger children, don't jump to the assumption that they need the theological or the existential mysteries explored to them. And most of us don't begin to have answers for those questions that begin with why at this time anyway. Older children validate the fact that they're concerned, they're empathic, they want to know what they can do, and they are troubled by the question of why them? Why did it happen to this one? Why did it happen there? And why did it happen on Lag BaOmer? And if you can answer those spiritual questions in a way that feels supportive and understanding, so do so. And if you don't have the answers, don't make them up, but give them the gift of some time to talk with a mentor, a rabbi, a rebbitzin, a rebbe, someone that they look up to and trust who might be able to help them at that level. But your children might be anxious, they might be sad, they may have trouble falling asleep, they may have trouble getting out of bed, they may not feel like eating, they may be withdrawn. And for the high majority of children, this will pass and they will recalibrate, but they'll do that best. And they'll do that a little sooner if you listen supportively, if you encourage them, don't judge, don't criticize. Give them some guidance and some modeling and some hadracha that it's normal and it's healthy to react wherever and whenever there is tsar among the Yiddish people. Let them know that their feelings resonate for you because they should, and they probably do. Be patient with them. Be loving with them. And if we're going to take any message from the timing of this catastrophe, although we don't know why, and we still don't know what will come in the days ahead, because news is still changing, Rahman al-Islam, with casualties and with injuries and lost people and so on. But if there's any message that we can take, it's the message of Achdus. It's the message of Nohagim Kavod Zeh Lozeh Mikano Lahallah, and the Ahavas Yisrael, and the closeness that we feel, and the caring and the compassion that we model for our children. This will get us through Mimenu Yivasheya. Kodesh Baruch Hu has never left us. If that was a lesson of Shimon Bar Yochai, then let's take that message, that there's light in the darkness, and there's even spirituality amidst the confusion and the suffering. And Kodesh Baruch Hu bring all of us through this and protect us and insulate us from any more tsar, and be there for your children, be there for your spouses, be there for yourselves at this time.